What is up, guys? Rick Cactus here, and today, for the first day of 2019, we are going to look backwards onto 2018 and discuss the 5 worst things to happen for Destiny 2 within that year. Now, this video is meant to be viewed with its companion piece, the video I put out yesterday, the 5 best things to happen for Destiny 2 in 2018. Both of these videos are basically serving to hopefully start a discussion and to help Bungie decide where to improve in the future by looking at what they got right and what they got wrong. Because 2018 was a very pivotal year for Destiny 2. It actually released in 2017. That's also when Curse of Osiris, the first DLC, came out. Both the full game and that first expansion were very panned, and a lot of problems came up, so 2018 was really a big year of improvements, especially culminating with the release of Forsaken. So this year was all about changing the course of Destiny 2, and hopefully we can get even more on course or improve the course even further going forward into 2019. So let's start this off here, and I will admit though, it was much harder to come up with this list of the worst things than it was the previous list of the best things. So that is definitely a good sign. However, starting with the list here at number 5, we have the way machine guns were introduced. Now, I am happy machine guns are here. I'm glad Bungie added them rather than not bother with them at all, for sure. But if we look at what was actually added, especially if we look at that compared to what was said to be added, Bungie was touting that machine guns, a whole new gun type, was going to be added into the game free for all players, and we got 3. 1 exotic and 2 others. If you own Black Armory, you get the Thunderlord, the Hammerhead, and the Avalanche. If you don't, you just get the Thunderlord and the Avalanche. That's not a lot, especially when we just got a really brand new gun type with bows and Forsaken. Although even there, Bungie skimped out a little bit by not adding anything to the lower rarities in terms of blue, green, whatever for new players leveling up. But that aside, there was quite a few different legendary bows that existed within different archetypes and do different damages. And there's even a few exotic bows. They really feel like a fully fleshed out brand new gun type. Compare bows to machine guns. It's not even close. It's not even close to how much more thought and effort was put into bows compared to machine guns. Heck, all 3 machine guns exist within the same damage archetype. How depressing is that? They're reskins of each other. However, of course, one is exotic and has, much different properties than the other 2. But the reason this is on the list is because the whole thing strikes me as a bit lazy, and I hate saying that because I know a lot of work does go into this game, but the fact that there isn't even another archetype, the fact that no machine guns were added to Dreaming City, Vanguard, Crucible, a bunch of factions, planetary factions, that really need some new loot to spice them up and to improve gameplay overall, the fact that nothing was done to take the extra mile, the minimal was done, really does concern me, especially coming out of Forsaken, where Bungie did take the extra mile for almost everything. And there we have number 5. But moving on from there, at number 4, it's gotta be the way at which you level up. Leveling was changed pretty substantially with the release of Forsaken, and overall, the way you level up has slowed down substantially. You do not climb anywhere near as fast as you did in previous expansions, especially compared to year 1. However, there is a lot of problems that came with this new leveling system. Again, it's not all bad. The fact that it is a little bit slower is generally a positive thing, but especially with this brand new Black Armory expansion where there was only 3 days to level up until the new raid, the problems became glaringly obvious. Number 1, there's way too much RNG involved with leveling up. When you are trying to increase your character and you do a powerful gear reward, let's say your gauntlets are your highest thing and you get gauntlets again, you are screwed. And just because of pure RNG, no fault of your own, an entire day grinding can be all but wasted if you just get the drops you don't need. That is really bad. That's not how a leveling system should be made, in that the people who get lucky ascend the fastest. That's ridiculous. It also sucks that the biggest boosts you get when leveling are in no way tied to the harder activities. You've just beat the Last Wish raid, one of the hardest pieces of content in the game, something that the majority of players still haven't been able to do. Enjoy your +3 light piece of gear. And that's still better than the +2 or the +1 you're going to be getting from other activities. But if you get a Prime Engram, enjoy a boost of 7 light. That doesn't make any sense. Something you randomly get from just mind-numbingly killing hordes of challenging enemies, something not fun to do, is going to give you, bar none, the biggest improvement. That is a very unhealthy way to encourage leveling up. And it's yet another thing tied to RNG. When I was leveling for Scourge, I would have days where I would get 3 to 4 Prime Engrams, and I would have friends get like 6. So, again, who do you think is going to level up faster just purely luck-wise? No skill involved whatsoever. That is not how you build a leveling system. That needs to change. I really want to see the system introduced like we had in Destiny 1, where for certain rewards at least, make it so that you can choose between a weapon reward or an armor reward in terms of powerful gear. That would alleviate so many of the problems. There's been so many times where you're like, I just need a weapon, and then you get armor, and your whole day is ruined, and just because you're unlucky, you can literally miss your run for the world's first raid because you're unlucky. That's insane. But moving on from there, we have in the number 3 slot, how common DDoS-ing is. And for those of you who don't know, because Destiny doesn't have dedicated servers and it's peer-to-peer, what people can do is essentially kick your opponents offline by DOSing them. And it's become a really big problem. It's even more of a problem apparently on PC, but it's a problem everywhere. It's happened to me. I know like pretty much everyone who plays a lot of PvP, it's happened to at least once, and it's a completely game-ruining experience. Like, they'll kick you offline, so they can kick the entire team offline, basically, or, kick a few players so it's 4v2 or whatever it ends up being. And in comp, where obviously the only thing that matters is to win, this is where it's most common, and it can completely ruin your win streak and, quite frankly, your experience overall. Now, DOSing is a serious thing. It's a bannable offense, but Bungie has really taken their time and not gone too hard on known DOSers. Like, it's crazy there's people on the top of leaderboards that are winning consistently, getting 0 kills because they DOS everyone off, right? And they aren't banned. Excuse me? Bungie needs to step up these bans, needs to make sure that the people doing this are banned swiftly and commonly, so that, people just are encouraged not to do it in the future, and those who do it, of course, get punished. And also, the bigger thing overall is that the fact that this is even a problem in the first place illustrates how important it is for Destiny to upgrade to dedicated servers. I know the infrastructure is not necessarily there for Destiny 2, but for goodness sakes, for Destiny 3, this can't keep happening. We need to go to dedicated servers. That's what most games are these days, and it's what people not only expect, but they should get. Alright, now moving on from there, we have in the number 2 slot, the lack of big sandbox changes. Unfortunately, we are doing exactly what was being done in Destiny 1, in Destiny 2, where we have a big sandbox update that completely changes the meta, and then for months and months and months, basically nothing. Seriously, the last big update was around when Forsaken came out with the change to the weapon slot system. And at that time, I was using a pulse rifle, a shotgun, and the Wardcliffe coil, let's say. I'm still using that setup. Now, mind you, the pulse rifle has changed from the inaugural address to the bygones, and the shotgun has obviously changed as well, and the Wardcliffe coil stays the same, but you know what I mean? Like, I'm using the same thing I was using when Forsaken came out now. I mean, of course you can change your loadout, but the meta has not evolved almost at all in that multiple month period. There just is not enough meaningful sandbox changes to shake up the meta. And if you compare Destiny 2 to almost any other game with a competitive PvP, Call of Duty, heck, even Fortnite. The amount of updates, the amount of balancing changes, the amount of buffs, the amount of nerfs is so much more in those games. And Bungie will throw out a quick Sandbox update every once in a while. It's not like they've done absolutely nothing since Forsaken, but usually they're very small. They impact a few specific exotics maybe, and the actual numbers being involved are very slim, like increased rate of fire, range, damage by only a few percent, nothing big. A great example is that scout rifles are just not in the meta right now, and they fixed a slight change with the slowest shooting scout rifles and made them arguably a bit better for sure, but they're definitely not meta breaking. And what about the rest of the scout rifles? It wasn't just that one archetype of scouts that needed help, it was all of them. And they're planning to do another big Sandbox update in January, but look at that time frame. From September was their last big one to January. That's insanely long. And what happens is that the meta gets stale. I mean, for you guys watching, even if you disagree with me, how long have you gone up against Telesto users? How long have you gone up against people using the same weapons for months and months and months, and you just get sick of it? It's not fun getting Telestoed. It's not fun getting aped over and over and over again, and nothing ever changes. We really need more common and more impactful Sandbox updates so that from one month to the next, scout rifles might be the meta. Okay, they're a little bit too powerful, nerf them, and then auto rifles need a bit of a buff, and then suddenly auto rifles are more in the meta, and then we evolve again and sidearms aren't doing too hot, so they get a buff and then they become part of the meta. The meta should be constantly shifting and evolving, not staying so darn stale. Additionally, related to this point, Bungie needs to do a better job consulting with the community about these changes. Right now, we're notified about future Sandbox updates and then they happen. And there's really no discussion or room for improvement or anything like that that happens in between. A lot of other games have a public test server where the developers put out changes when they hit the wild in the PTSs for Division or for Rainbow Six Siege or whatever. The community gets their hands on them and goes, whoa, 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 this is way too overpowered or this is way too underpowered. What happened to this? And then the developers make changes accordingly. There's no infrastructure like that whatsoever in Destiny 2, so we constantly get Sandbox updates that, frankly, don't make a lot of sense or don't address some of the main concerns within the community. And also, while we're on the subject, Destiny 2 on PC and Destiny 2 on console are two very different experiences. Why is Bungie pretending like they're the exact same thing? Why isn't there more and different buffs and nerfs for the PC version compared to the console version? Every other game, like Black Ops 4, it has, alright, PC changes are here, console changes are here, and they're often drastically different. But Bungie is trying to pretend like everything's exactly the same. In any event, it is time to move on to the number one worst thing to happen in 2018, and that is the removal of Trials of the Nine. Now, don't get me wrong, I am not saying that this is the most amazing game type and it was perfect and how dare Bungie remove it, because it was deeply flawed. Deeply. And I can't imagine how Trials would play out with the meta right now, with how powerful exotic armor is, like with the Shards of Galanor. That'd just be ridiculous. But removing Trials and then not even adding it back for the next expansion with Black Armory has hurt the community in quite a lot of ways. PvP players, like, that's what they did. That was the pinnacle PvP activity, was Trials of the Nine. It's somewhat been replaced with Comp, but not really. It's still left quite a void. And so, Trials, it was single-handedly carrying Destiny 2 in the Twitch directory. Once that's gone, Destiny 2 has always struggled. Like, it's really down at the bottom of the Twitch directory, and you may be thinking, why does that matter? I don't watch Twitch, who cares? More eyes on the game is always better for building a community, and right now the eyes are not on the game. It's just comp help, constantly. It's just Luna carries, Mountaintop carries, all that stuff. Which is fine, I'm not saying there's something wrong with that, I'm just saying it needs a little bit more of an injection. It needs Trials back to really buff up what people are watching and also what people are doing. If you're a PvP player, all you've got to do now is comp or quick play, and that's it. There's no special event that comes every weekend. And once you're done with the comp stuff, like almost every PvP player I know, and I know a lot of, streamers and YouTubers that main PvP, once they're done their comp stuff, they really don't want to keep playing comp. And so they're just kind of done at that point. Trials was meant to be for PvP what the raid is for PvE, the endgame pinnacle activity, and the removal of that has definitely hurt the community. Yes, again, it had problems, and yes, going away for a bit made sense, but the fact that they haven't tried to reintroduce it with changes or unique modifiers, like if supers are a problem, maybe make it so that your super charges slower than normal within Trials of the 9, or perhaps have a ban list of certain weapons or certain armor pieces they were really concerned about. Something, just something, but its absence for this long has definitely been felt. Guys, that's it for the video. Hope you enjoyed, found this interesting. If you did, please remember to help me out by simply rating and especially sharing this video. If you guys want to see more Destiny 2 content similar to this, don't be afraid to slap that subscribe button. If you guys want to get in touch with me and keep up to date with the latest channel activity, the best way is to follow me on Twitter at RickCacus. That's linked in the description down below. Again, hope you enjoyed the video, and as always, have a good day.